trying to get some more miles in this summer. I've got all 3 and all 4 done.
I'll take it a second.
I like the black price on that.
That's your contribution.
This one's card, this one's cash.
That won't let us take cash. So here's the 25, and then I'll get you just want one premium?
I know. Yeah.
It's a 2-sided.
Double-sided.
All the rest are front-sided only.
We'll make it work. Yeah. We'll make it work.
Y'all registered?
First time.
You gotta get dropped off. You gotta help him out, Cheryl. Come on. Drop him off at your head, spot his car up at the other one. Walk back to your car. That should be on the other side.
Which one do you like better?
Okay, yeah, that's you got 33 seconds.
New awesome tent. How much the tent, the beer half raffle cost? I think they're premium ones. Okay, $5.
No, they're not.
Oh, no, wait, hold on.
These are 5.
Well, it says 5, so you probably should put that. I didn't. It's
Right.
got,
Okay.
it's got quilted.
These are, I think, the same as the thing.
That's the same girl.
Baskets.
It's all her
These
stuff.
are the same as baskets.
Okay. All right. I just saw the side.
Yeah, that's what I'm going with.
Hey, how are ya?
It's like they're shooting. That's okay.
You know, some people don't like outside yoga, but outside. And this time we'll create some circle movements.
So what we have here is the day pack that was carried by Shirley Schweitzer. She was one of the very first members of the West Virginia Scenic Trails Conference, which is what it was called before it was the association. Matter of fact, Shirley was in on the ground floor. I mean, the first year they had a public meeting, Shirley was there, and she and Carolyn Welker were good hiking buddies, and they were good friends of mine also. And when Shirley got to the point where she couldn't hike anymore, her health reasons didn't allow her to hike anymore, she said, well, maybe you can use this. And I thought, you know what, I'm not going to use it. This is Shirley's, this is a memento that reflects back on the very earliest period of the history of the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association. So I thought I would just try to keep it. I never cleaned it up or anything. I was afraid if I tried to clean it, I might damage it because it's pretty old. But anyway, it's a really nice thing to have, and I'm hoping to find a place where I could turn over the records of the organization and other paraphernalia I have that reflects on the first decade of the organization's formation and beginning work on the Allegheny Trail.
Are fires permitted, right? It's always best if you're going to have a fire to do it in a designated space. So that's like number one. And honestly, if you don't have like an actual fire ring, I would say if you're a strict, if it's a survival thing, there's things you can do to minimize that impact. Finding a non-grassy spot. If you can build your fire on top of a rocky surface or a pile of gravel, that's great. For sure, look for, is there sufficient wood in that area? You can easily carry those isopro canisters. For cooking, anyways, there's not really a great reason to build.
Visited place on the Allegheny Trail. Last year, the data show we had over 12,500 people went to Hanging Rock. And this year, the state of West Virginia put it on the cover of the travel guide. And I don't know what the number is, but it's way more than that, probably. It's a steady stream of people, all hours of the day and night, every day of the week. Pushing feature of a redtail is, and this is pretty easy to spot generally, if you look at the leading edge of their wings in here on the inside, you always have this dark area. It's called a patagial bar. And if you see a buteo-shaped bird that has that, it's a redtail, because none of the other ones have it. They also have this little, like a belly band, they call it, dark area across the middle of their abdomen there. That's a distinguishing feature as well.
We're talking about where are you from, and I said Logan County, and he was like, you West Virginia folks. He was like, you always identify by counties, and it really is true. So Logan County is where I spent the first 18 years of my life, and over the course of the last, 30 years or so, I have had the opportunity to serve in the Army. I've had the opportunity to serve in law enforcement. I eventually landed in DOD, and when I landed in DOD, I was working in a program offering anger management and stress management to Marines, and so that led to me getting trained in yoga with a focus of stress management. I don't know how much you know about Jane Goodall, but a nature pioneer, science pioneer, and here's what she says. The first step on the road to experiencing true awareness, she wrote, is the cessation of noise from within. Now, if you came to the yoga class this morning, you also know that I read the first Yoga Sutra, which was Now Yoga Begins, and then Sutra number 2 saying that a calm state of mind is the goal of yoga. And so she's essentially saying this as well. Ancient forest or the cool, smooth skin of a young and eager sapling. It gave me a strange, intuitive sense of the sap as it was sucked up by the unseen roots and drawn up to the very tips of the branches. Her perceptions became even clearer when she focused simply on perceiving them. Words are a part of our rational selves, and to abandon them for a while is to give freer rein to our intuitive selves. Thus, she wrote, it is all but impossible to describe the new awareness that comes when words are abandoned.
Yeah, there are chairs. This works good. Okay, that's fine. Welcome to Fort Warwick. You're sort of surrounded by it. But the subject of the day, when Nicole talked to me about this, she said, would you come and present? And I went, yeah. And then I thought about it a little bit, and I thought, well, you know, since this is a hiking event, maybe I should talk about some of the walks that these colonists took to sort of give you an impression of the distances they covered, what they carried, and the things that they saw. So that's sort of it. And I want to start with, first of all, do you all want the normal sort of historical thing? Do you want the exciting historic thing? Do you want the super exciting adventure story? What do y'all want? A, B, or C?
Super exciting adventure story.
Okay, good. They're all the same. I was just checking for enthusiasm. That's it. About 10,000 years worth of Native American history, because we have stone tools, we have projectile points, we have pottery that The 2 fire pits we have at this point carbon dated take us back about 1,100 years and 2,500 years. Now 2,500 years ago is Stonehenge, same period of time as Moundsville here in West Virginia. So this has been a good place to live for a long time, and it still is. That's why my family's here. Now, during the colonial period, a lot of people ask me, well, you look at these forests, how do these people get in here? This must have been, you have to reimagine the forest. But in that canopy forest, there were wide game trails, because that's Buffalo Mountain up there. It's named that for a reason, okay? Elk Mountain is to the south of us. It's named that for a reason. Those game animals made wide trails. So those trails were used by Native Americans first and the colonists later on. One of the more famous trails that really is close to us is the Seneca Trail over on 219. It goes basically down 219 through the valley over there, the Elk River Valley, traverses over Elk Mountain, crosses through Marlinton, continues down through Hillsborough and then levels. It was a north-south route that natives used.
Well, I was gonna get you. John found a bunch of these. He found these. Speaking of old, those have to be. Yeah, you have that. Yeah, that is pretty cool.
Here that we could go that gets us into some, mixed pine and oak woods. It's fairly well shaded, and there's a bike path that winds through it. So I think there's some potential there. I haven't been there recently. I did go to the area where I found some amanitas, which are mycorrhizal fungi that are often more emergent in.
We in Charleston haven't had rain in like 3 months to speak of. I hope it's been a little bit better up here. I've been trying to watch the weather, and I've noticed a little bit of rain in the last few weeks, so we're hopeful. We're not really going to be seeing numbers of mushrooms that we can collect today for like eating, but we'll see some cool mushrooms that we can learn about. I like to stay together as a group, and if we find something, we can all kind of gather around it and talk about it together, ask questions, and if anybody sees anything, yell, and we'll all gather around what you find and we'll talk about it. And if we don't know what it is, we'll take one of our books and see if we can identify it that way. But yeah, I've been leading mushroom walks for the last about 4 years for the West Virginia Mushroom Club. Carla has a lot more experience than I do, but she's a lot more humble about her level of knowledge. She's super knowledgeable. But yeah, any questions, holler. We'll talk about it as a group.
I don't know. It's a beautiful, beautiful area. I was just particularly. You never like. I mean, some people do. You never like where you go to high school, right? You're like one town over, totally fine. Right. Boiling Springs, South Carolina, not okay. So I actually would really like to move back up to upstate South Carolina. We've got some really pretty mountains up there and really beautiful country and stuff. Just not that one specific town.
Yeah, I love the time I spent in North Carolina. I've only been in South Carolina a little bit, but I mean, it's like West Virginia, the Carolinas, Kentucky, and like a lot of these other places as far.
We're West Virginia Rivers Coalition. We work for policy statewide for clean water for all, good, healthy public lands with recreation that's nature-based and working on the PFAS chemicals and just trying to keep people involved and talking to their government.
Hi, I'm Owen with Friends of the Cheat, and we're here at the Scenic Trails Association's 50th celebration. Friends of the Cheat is a steward of the Scenic Trails, the Allegheny Trail. We host the West Virginia Scenic Trails Association in the spring for the spring cleanup along Section 1, which is through the iconic Cheat Canyon to the 10 miles of the Allegheny Trail through a pretty picturesque wilderness setting. We also have a campground, Friends of the Cheat, that we host the group to do the spring cleaning, and we coordinate on events and support each other best we can to support the trail and support the Cheat River.
These are some views of postcards that were printed in that same era because Andrew Price's booklet and his advocacy pushed a lot of people to start thinking about this road that would be developed that would follow this north-south Warrior Trail, and they were calling it the Seneca Trail at that point in time. We actually have a spot on the Allegheny Trail which has this view. It's up at Centennial Park on 219 as it goes over Backbone Mountain. So that's the only spot where the Allegheny Trail actually is on the old Seneca Trail. There's just some more views from postcards from the past where these people in 1920s were interested in developing this road, getting some federal dollars to do it, and it came south into the Leading Creek Valley. From Leading Creek, it went up to the Tigris Valley River and so on and so forth, all the way to Mercer County, West Virginia. Now, north is that way. I've turned this on the side so you can see the length of this Seneca Trail a little better. You can see it starts there, goes north, up into Preston County, and then over into Maryland. Pretty closely aligned to the great north-south trail that the Iroquois moved from east of Allegheny Ridge to west of Allegheny Ridge in 1744 when the Treaty of Lancaster was made. The yellow and red indicate the Allegheny Trail. So this shows you that the concept of the Allegheny Trail follows closely to the Seneca Trail, but parallel, not crossing it except one point right up here. Bob Tabor was knowledgeable of this movement in the 1920s to create this new road, new north-south road that would be called the Seneca Trail because it followed the Seneca Trail, and it's now US 219 essentially. And that's why I wanted to anchor this, I wanted to marry these two concepts together because Bob married them together in his head. The Allegheny Trail would run parallel to the Great North-South War Trail, even though it didn't follow it exactly.
You know, at that time, it seemed like there were so many hurdles to actually putting a through trail together in terms of landowner issues, and you know, every organization involved is very conservative, concerned about liability, you know, including the state. And so there was, you know, this was the vision, but it seemed impossible to realize that vision almost. And so let's spread our concept to other trails as well.
But the more toxic it is, and then the more big the dog is, the more they can stomach chocolate and be okay. Typically, it's just going to cause GI distress. Worst case scenario, it can cause seizures. So, you know, if you've got a seizure-prone dog, it can cause more issues. Mushrooms, dogs, for whatever reason, sometimes will eat a wild mushroom that is not supposed to be eaten. And, I mean, any raw mushroom, you know, out in the wild, really, it should be cooked first. But mushroom toxicity can be, you know, as mild as just a little bit of diarrhea, maybe vomiting, to death. So it's one thing that I say, if you saw your dog eat a wild mushroom, you know, take a picture of the mushroom or even bring part of it in and get the dog to the vet no matter what. Peroxide, that's, you know, if somebody called me and said, I'm 2 hours away from the hospital, you know, I'm leaving this trailhead, what can I do? I did see it eat a mushroom. If they're just savvy enough to even think to have peroxide in like a first aid kit in their car for their dog, that's what we give them to throw up until they can get to the hospital, and we can use something that's a little more.
Is what I'm looking at. There's kind of a little bit of a window in there, so cool. I'll write it down on there if I can snag it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, nice to see you guys.
All right, you too.
So we are at the 50th anniversary celebration for the Allegheny Trail. Excited to be here. I've got my series of original artwork that I painted along the trail on my through hike. And I actually spent the last 2 weeks leading up to this in Durban, which is one of the trail towns right in the center of the trail, doing a 300 square foot mural for them with some representation of the Allegheny Trail on there. So got a lot of Allegheny Trail love and really enjoying being back in West Virginia and getting to have this experience.
The green there is going to be the boundary, and then the other one is the
barn.
county.
Barn.
Yeah,
that's a barn.
Tucker, Randolph, Pendleton grants.
This is what I was talking about, a 2-year-old bald eagle. You notice how the trailing edge of its feathers are kind of staggered in length?
So that's George Washington. We had a little bit of George Washington snuck in, but if you're in Franklin going
This
to
is
the
one of my
the
favorite
High Knob
birds.
Heights,
This is an immature golden eagle.
So we don't want to
get
put George.
those
It's in Pendleton
in
County,
late
so
fall,
it counts.
late October, November.
I just didn't know.
It became an official 501c nonprofit. But we have a lot of technical support from partner organizations. WVU, the Forest Service provides a lot of assistance.
That's terrific.
All sorts of programs, and again, ultimately, it's easier to get things done. I mean, teamwork makes the dream work, right? It's cheesy, but if one small town is asking for something, it's easy for them to be, cast aside. But if you get 8 counties, 12 towns all together,
Right.
saying we've got a shared mission, it kind of opens the door to new possibilities.
And now it feels like Boulder's about to get moving fast.
Oh yeah,
with the ARC
yes.
Power Grant and all this stuff. It's
there's
a game changer.
It'll be exciting. Exciting to see how far they've come and how far they will.
Oh, why those aren't cooking? Nobody lost my flame on this one.
Working on her doctorate.
Where our first
She's
day
got
was going to
interest
take
in
us.
me. So why don't you backtrack with me?
Hold on.
So I was hoping you were taking it for this, or were you just collecting it with the impression that this is how I make my money?
No.
How much are the little 4-packs?
We can't sell them.
We can't sell them.
It's for demonstration only.
Oh,
because we
my
don't have a
burgers are
license.
beautiful.
So they're free. But our license does not permit us to sell canned beer.
Oh, gotcha, okay.
So we just wanted you to see what they look like.
All of them came with cold side.
I would have figured out.
That water came up about 5 feet. By the time we finished eating supper, there was nowhere on the bank.
Every single person here is a contributor because it's an all volunteer nonprofit. So that means your time, your resources, your sacrifice. We appreciate everything everybody here has done and those before us, right? So let's talk about what it means to be a volunteer. It's a selfless act. It doesn't happen overnight. It's a learned behavior. You have a role model. You have a series of role models. And I want to take a moment and thank each and every one of you for paying attention at some point in your life to somebody who impacted you. And the fact of the matter is you are a role model for others that you get to impact. I want to take a moment and acknowledge somebody super special here today who drove 580 miles to be a part of this event. And this is my father, Don Flood. And this man, this wonderful man right here, he's not only my father, he's a great friend, he's a mentor. We get to hunt, fish together, golf together, learn so much from the man. But one of the most important, most profound elements I was able to learn from him was the gift and connection with nature. The opportunity, yeah, that's definitely worth a clap. The opportunity to enjoy him in nature is one of the most impactful, motivating, and relentless themes in my life. This man's 86 today. 86 trips around this sun. He's learned a lot. He's been able to share a lot. And before we sing happy birthday to this extremely special human, I want each and every one of you to think about your gift to be here today, your gift to get into nature and enjoy it, and the fact that you will be able to impact others through your generosity and your time. Without further ado, let's sing happy birthday to Don.
Ready?
Is to serve, although I might not want to, we have rights to praise her. The day I got my letter says it's time to take my turn, fighting tears with my family, praying I return. Wheels up to the dash.
Y'all hold some cell phone lights up tonight for our veterans. Let me see them out there. I stand at attention, give time on man to please for the ones
prison. That railroad train was mine.